Hey, welcome to the Really Quick Bible Study. I'm James Lawrence. Our scriptures today is from the book of Romans, chapter 1. Chapter 1, verses 16 and 17. And my wife and I now are teaching a Bible study that's centered on the book of Romans, and it is just powerful stuff. We've been in Romans now for a couple of chapters, and Romans is just it's Paul's just his masterwork on explaining grace. It's like the prime rib of the New Testament, I think. But anyway, Romans chapter 1, 16 and 17. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. It is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes, for the Jew first and also for the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. So let me back up one verse and remind you all, if you know or don't. The book of Romans, Paul has not been to Rome. Most of the other letters in the epistles, the letters that he's written in the New Testament to Galatians and Ephesians and Thessalonians, etc., are letters that he's written to cities and churches that he founded, and he's been there, to people he knows. He's written this letter to the Romans when he's only planning on going, and apparently he planned on going for a while. So in the verses leading up to this, in chapter 1, he's telling them, I'm coming and I can't wait to see you, etc., etc. So if we back up to verse 15, I'll read that. So as much as is in me, I'm ready to preach the gospel to you who are in Rome also. And then verse 16, for I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes, for the Jew first and also for the Greek. Paul says, for I am not ashamed of the gospel. This is what he does. He's not ashamed, and we should not be either. We should not be ashamed to preach the gospel of Jesus, because that's what's going to bring salvation to people. And he says for the Jew first and also for the Greek. That has been throughout the New Testament. That's when we read about Paul, that's the pattern that he went by. He would go someplace to the city, he'd go first, just like Jesus did. Jesus brought it first to his gospel to the Jews and then to the rest of the world. So Paul would go to the synagogue and he'd preach the gospel, and then he'd get beaten up or perhaps listened to, but however it turned out, once he'd preached it to the Jews in the city, then he'd go outside and he'd preach it to the Gentiles. Verse 17, for in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. It's talking about the righteousness of God. It's the righteousness of God that makes us right with God. There's nothing we can do to bring ourselves into the righteousness of God. It's absolutely free. God has a absolutely pure moral character that we can't live up to. So in order to save us, he had to come down and basically do it for us, pay the price through his son. And then we're given the gift of his righteousness. And this has been known, we're saved by grace through faith. And when Paul is writing here, he's actually quoting that end part, the just shall live by faith. He's quoting that from Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 4, which says, behold the proud, his soul is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. The first part, behold the proud, this is again at a time when the Jews were imprisoned by the Babylonians. So behold the proud, his soul is not upright in him. He's speaking of the captors. But the just shall live by his faith. So even in the Old Testament, there was known that, the righteousness of God was going to be reached through faith. We've seen that with Abraham, David. I came across this little note here that the Jewish Talmud states, Moses gave Israel 613 commandments. David reduced them to 10, Isaiah to 2, But Habakkuk to 1, the just shall live by his faith. It's a really quick Bible study. Be blessed, stay blessed, bless somebody, and we'll see you soon. This really quick Bible study was brought to you by Our Charis Community. Our Charis Community, inviting people into loving community to discover their true identity, purpose, and destiny through the study of God's Word. Write to us at Our Charis Community, Post Office Box 467, Camden, Delaware, 19934. Email us at info@ourchariscommunity.org. Visit us on the web at ourchariscommunity.org and on Facebook at facebook.com/ourchariscommunity. Your tax-deductible contributions are both needed and appreciated.